It's not much. And right now it doesn't look like much. I could easily show you a perfectly manicured farmscape. But that's the farm that everybody shows you. This is not all dressed up. This is real. This is raw. This is Southeast Arizona high desert farming. It looks dry. It looks barren. But don't be fooled, because this is only part of the illusion, part of the mirage. This soil is very much alive, fertile, and it didn't get that way on its own. We took raw land and we made it producing. This Wallapini, these fields, this small greenhouse, they all work together to provide us a completely self-sufficient life. For me, my wife, our 5 kids, we've been doing this for 3 years now. I wanted to show you our land at its visual worst. Why? Because I want to begin to break the lie of what a farm is supposed to look like. We took this raw land and we made it producing. We left the city to build a farm. We want to start to show you how we did it, how we're doing it. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the top 5 books that helped us build a producing farm from scratch in the Sonoran Desert. The question I'm sure I'm going to get is, why books? And why books? My name is Mr. Muhammad, and I'm the owner of Lutu Muhammad Family Farm. A few years back, my wife and I decided that we wanted to leave the city life behind and build a family farm from scratch out here in the Sonoran Desert of Arizona. For the last 3 years, we've been successfully farming, successfully living off of our land, providing food for ourselves as a family, but then also providing a financial means of making it. Why books? Books to me, I feel like, are the best way to start as far as a baseline of understanding any discipline. Some people might say, well, why not go to digital media? Why not just go to YouTube University, or I could take a class on permaculture? Those are all great resources. But books give you a good factual baseline to build your knowledge from. The books that I'm going to talk about, they've been published. Some of them are even textbooks. So there's more fact in them than someone just setting up a camera and spewing out information without any facts or information to back it up. There's 3 main reasons why, when people ask us how we started as a farm, I recommend books. 1, they're easily accessible. A lot of these books you can find at the Goodwill. You could find them on Amazon incredibly cheap. Second reason is books withstand the test of time. If a book is still in circulation or is still available, it means that something in it was right. People have tried it, people have read it, and it still has some type of weight that it holds. So the books that I'm going to talk about today, they've stood the test of time. We've used them for the last 5 years, and the information that in them has been applied and used and proven to be right, or proven to be correct. So they're good starting points. And then reason number 3 is, a book is the best way to own knowledge. We live in a world that is increasingly, you're renting something, you're renting your phone, you're renting time, you're renting knowledge. Once you have a book, you own it. I could pass this on to someone else. I could make photocopies of it. I could have this for years and years and years on end. I can, my kids will regularly pick up some of these books and start reading and doing some of the projects on their own. So I feel like with books you get your money's worth. And I feel like if you can start your baseline of knowledge from fact and build on top of that, your ship will always be on the right course. We were completely ignorant to farming when we first started. I knew how to grow things, but I didn't understand the economics. I didn't understand farm management practices. I didn't really even understand how to lay out your land to make your land more efficient and make it work better for yourself. So when we started down this venture, altogether it's been 5 years now, but we've been on this land for 3 years. So when we started down this path of leaving the city and heading to the rural life, I started educating myself on farming. So I started with what made sense in my head. I started with understanding soil. I started with understanding flora and all of these other things. I kind of started with the ground and I worked my way up from there as far as building knowledge. I read hundreds and hundreds of books over the years. I've watched a countless amount of hours of videos. These 5 books, I feel like, are the 5 books I routinely go back to. And each time I read them, I'm able to pull information out of them. And so that's why I'm recommending them. If you're a book person, great. If you're not a book person, maybe it's a trait you should pick up, because there's a lot of really good information in books that I feel like is bypassed in this digital era. So we'll get into it. We'll get started and we'll talk about the first book that I will recommend here. Okay, so let's get into the books. First book we're going to talk about is Bill Mollison's. This is the designer's Bible to permaculture. This book is going to give you the ideologies, the practicality of permaculture and everything there is to know about it. It is a textbook, so it has a lot of, I'm not going to say sophisticated jargon, but it's a textbook. So it's wrote like a textbook. If you have ever read a textbook, sometimes it can be, if you don't like the classroom environment, it could be kind of exhausting to read because it's just loaded with information. Any class that you take on permaculture, anybody that is online talking about permaculture, this is the textbook that they are pulling their information from. Now, this book wasn't cheap. I want to say at the time, maybe it was a couple $100. I'm sure now you could find it cheaper. Maybe by the time this video comes out, it's dropped a little bit in price, but the price you're going to pay for this, and to be able to always have the knowledge and pass it on if you want, or go back and read it, is going to be worth it when you compare it to taking courses or watching hours of video. It's better just to have the knowledge. This is going to get you established in understanding the ideas and, again, the practices of permaculture. So I would highly recommend reading this book before you even get started, before you move a rock on your land. Just read through it. Start reading it. Again, it's a textbook. It's pretty thick, but digest it on your terms and get a good grasp on the ideologies and practices of permaculture. And again, this is a book that I still go back to. Even, doing this for 3 years, I still will open this book up every now and then, find something new I didn't see before, or see a technique or an idea that I may have misinterpreted it at the beginning, and now I see a better way of doing it or a different way of doing it. So this gives you a good baseline to start with in permaculture. Next book is actually a set of books. So this is Brad Lancaster's Rainwater Harvesting for Dry Lands and Beyond, Volume 1 and 2. The textbook is going to give you everything everything you need to know about permaculture. Brad Lancaster does an excellent job of talking about specifically rainwater and how to more efficiently use it on your land. Now, here in the Southwest, this is a necessity, understanding water, how to use it. That doesn't mean that the techniques in here can't be applied anywhere. Rain falls on pretty much every part of our world. So if you can understand how to better use that rainwater, how to manage it, it's going to help your farm, it's going to help your homestead, your off-grid establishment be more efficient. These two books do an excellent job of the practices. So the physical earthworks, the techniques, and he does a wonderful job of illustrating a lot of that in these books. So the big difference between the two of these is that these aren't so textbooky, so they're a little bit more easily to digest. But again, a lot more of the illustrations, and again, another set of books that I regularly will revisit and, pull ideas from. A big reason why I always tell people to pick these up is, I don't know what type of financial situation you're coming from when you're building your farm. For us, we saved up our money, we put it into a savings account, and we used that money to do what we wanted to do. So we didn't have a lot of it. It was a finite amount, and we had to make it work. If we didn't make it work, we really kind of dived in with everything. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. So with these two investments that we have with investing in books, you're also being efficient with your money. Once you really start getting into farming, you'll start to see how your time becomes so valuable, how tiny tasks can add up over time and become quite expensive. So when you can build into your farm, your homestead, or your off-grid establishment, efficient water use, efficient farm practices, it's going to save you time and money in the long run, and really in the short term as well. A lot of the things in this book are just literally earthworks. It's picking up a shovel, it's getting a wheelbarrow, it's getting your tractor, your skid steer, and moving some dirt around. You already have the dirt, so really all you're paying for is fuel or maybe the cost to rent the equipment, but that is relatively low cost compared to dealing with drainage issues in the future, or having to haul in water because you're not properly using the water that's falling onto your land. So another thing to consider, and also another reason to pick up these two books. Save you money and time in the long run. So the next two books I have for you are also a set. They are John Slattery's the Southwest Guide to Foraging and his Southwest Guide to Medicinal Plants. Why these two books? These two books are important because when you can understand how to forage in your area, when you can understand the native species of your area, that gives you a better understanding of what you can and can't do with your land, species that you can or can't grow, or maybe species of plants that might be a little bit more difficult for you to grow in your area for yourself or for profit. So when you can understand what you can eat, it helps you get a better baseline understanding of your native flora and fauna. In this book, in the foraging guide, this is for the Southwest. John does an excellent job of providing real world illustrations. Literally, I could take this book and I could go out on my land, and using just the illustrations in here, I could find pretty much every identification of species of plant on my land, which is great. And again, it's a comfortable size, so you can throw it in your backpack, you can have it in your car. It's always available to you. The reason why I suggest these two books together is because once you've understood what's on your land, what's surrounding you, the native species, the medicinal guide helps you understand how to use that for your body, how to use that for yourself. Your health is the number one thing you should worry about when you are living rural, when you are on a homestead. Something that we didn't consider and that kind of caught us by surprise is you don't realize in the city how convenient things are. Something as simple as a Tylenol for us if we don't have one in the house, that could be an hour away. And when you're going through a migraine, that's the last thing you want to do is get in a car and drive through rural country to find a Tylenol or an aspirin. So, the medicinal guide helps you to be able to okay, you know what? I'm not feeling too right. Let me go out and pull this plant and do something about it. It's better for you than, getting some pharmaceutical. Plus, it gives you a better understanding of what's around you, what's on your land. So I would highly suggest getting the two books together, or get one or the other. And again, if you don't live in the Southwest, find two comparable types of books, one on foraging and then one on the native species of medicinal plants. You can't go wrong with that. The next book is one of my favorites. This is Curtis Stone's Urban Farming Guide. If you don't know who Curtis Stone is, you should Google him. Great resource, puts out great videos. This is one of his older books. I found this at a Goodwill and picked it up when we were first thinking of moving out onto the land. What I like most about this book is when Curtis was kind of building his farm and his operation, he came from the city and kind of moved more into the rural environment. So for me, when I was reading this book, it was, I could relate to a lot of what he was talking about, because from what I understand, he was very ignorant about, the money, the economics of farming, and he had to teach himself a lot of these things. So in this book, he really breaks down the economics of farming, and he explains it to the reader in a way that's very digestible and understandable. Now, I know the title says urban farming, but what's great about that is if you can learn how to farm in an urban environment with very limited space, that is always scalable. So a lot of this book, he breaks down how to be a successful farmer with limited space in a city environment. That could easily be applied to a rural environment. On our land, we have 20 acres. So if I could learn how to efficiently farm with a fraction of that, then that's easily something that I can scale up to the remaining acres of my land. So really good read. And again, it's always something I come back to throughout the years. And it's nice because it's written in such layman terms that I could even give it to my kids, and they have started to kind of pick up a lot of what Curtis is talking about in this book. So really good one to pick up and super cheap. You can't go wrong with it. Now, the last book is not a title that I can give you. The last book is a title that you're going to have to find for yourself. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I can give you the type of book that should be your number one, your number 5, or however you're watching this video, but your last book in the top 5 should be some book of spirituality. It should be some book of faith, of creation. I was at a farmer's market once, and there was a lady that walked up to me and she said, "I hope that one day I can master growing like you've mastered." And I said, "I haven't mastered anything." When you step out into this land, you are stepping into the domain of creation. So I would encourage you to start to build that or rebuild that connection back to creation within yourself. It helps you understand the land. And again, you're going to feel like you're missing something if you don't. I've talked to so many other farmers that are out here that are part of our co-op, and they all have some way of connecting. In my house, for example, I have a Holy Bible, I have a Holy Quran, I have the Torah, I have the Book of Hopi. Find that for yourself. Find that way, find that method of connecting yourself to all of this, to the land, to the earth, to the sky, to the universe itself. You have to remember, when we are not in a city, we are directly connected back to this earth. We feel the earth when it trembles. The rainwater means something more to us. So when you build that spiritual connection back within yourself, it helps build your reasoning as to why we're here. So find that for yourself. I don't know how to say goodbye, and I'm not a master at making YouTube videos, but I'll leave you with the quote. And it's one of my favorite quotes. The quote is by Helen Exley. "Books can be dangerous, The best ones should be labeled, "This could change your life." Thank you for watching, and see you next time.